A honey badger will attack a lion, bite a scorpion, and then go eat a king cobra all in the same day. And if they get bitten by a venomous snake, all they have to do is sleep it off. Literally. Honey badgers might look like skunks, but they have little in common. Sure, they look cute and cuddly on the outside, but those beady little eyes and that scruffy little tail? Aw. But whatever you do, don't get close to these guys. They've been known to scare off lions and attack cheetahs. The honey badger is probably the most fearless animal on the planet. To illustrate what we mean, here's a video of a honey badger, or ratel as they're known in other parts of the world, and a snake. The honey badger can be found in the Indian subcontinent and Southwest Asia, but the majority of them live in Africa. They're only 9 to 11 inches high, and they measure between 22 and 30 inches in length. The average weight of a honey badger doesn't exceed 35 pounds. As you can clearly see, the honey badger is not a big animal, but that doesn't affect how they defend themselves in the wild. Their size and their bravery seem to be negatively correlated. In other words, the smaller the honey badger, the more fearless they are. Kidding aside, the honey badger and the mole snake will fight to the death. Even though it's not venomous, this snake can easily crush the bones of a honey badger. Does the ratel run away when it sees a snake? Not if the snake attacks first. The mole snake struck the honey badger first and aimed for its head. While other animals would turn the other way, the honey badger fearlessly persists. Even after suffering several attacks to the head, the honey badger's weak spot, it still is persistent. Instead of fleeing, the honey badger tried biting the snake's head. After several failed attempts, the honey badger finally managed to smash that like button, just like you should do if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, the honey badger finally landed a clear shot. It bit the snake close to the head. Immediately after, the honey badger landed a second bite. The snake tried to run away, but the honey badger doesn't let it out of its sight. He pinned down its tail with paws and began eating it. The snake tried fighting back and biting the honey badger once more, but it was futile. The honey badger crushed its head with a single bite. The honey badger attacked a monitor lizard. Because they're members of the weasel family, along with otters, ferrets, and skunks, honey badgers tend to live solitary lifestyles. They don't form social groups and usually hunt alone. They're omnivores, which means they'll eat anything from vegetables to fruits and grass and smaller animals. Snakes are basically their main source of protein. As a hunter, they're extremely smart. They use all the skills at their disposal to capture even the most intricate prey. For example, a honey badger uses its long nails whenever possible. They're really good diggers, which gives them 2 advantages. 1, they can dig burrows and hide underground. 2, they can dig out other animals hiding underground and then use their burrows for shelter. The only time a honey badger is defenseless is when they're born. They're blind and hairless, and they rely on their mother for protection. And no animal even dares to attack a honey badger mom. She will fight a lion if it comes to that. The honey badgers are a really good climber. They can scale trees and rocks, which allows them to reach prey, like the monitor lizard. At first, the honey badger and the monitor lizard began their fight on the ground. Realizing it stood no chance, the monitor lizard scaled the tree and just stood there. The lizard stood on a branch and no doubt hoped the predator would go away. But the honey badger was just getting started. When you see its tail up in the air, that means the honey badger is excited and it's just getting started. Before long, it figured out a way to climb the tree. Unfortunately, it was the wrong tree. But don't fret, the honey badger's very intelligent. It figured it out and was soon scaling up the right tree. As it drew closer and closer, the tree began to shake. This indicated to the monitor lizard that the threat was near. Knowing that the lizard's only plan of escape would be to jump off the tree, the honey badger persisted. As soon as the monitor lizard jumped, the honey badger followed it. After a quick chase on the ground, the honey badger captured and ate the monitor lizard. Next up, we have the honey badger versus 6 lions. One honey badger found itself surrounded by 2 adult females and 4 subadults. The 4 younger lions engaged the honey badger head-on. Little did they know, the honey badger would not go down without a fight. Honey badgers are tough, and we mean that literally and figuratively. You see, honey badgers have very thick skin. Their skin's the same thickness as that of a buffalo, which is around 6 millimeters thick. On top of that, their skin is very loose, which allows the honey badger to move around in it. This means that the attacks the lions deliver will have very little effect on the badger. As soon as the honey badger became cornered, it began hissing and growling and lashed out at the lions a few times. When the lions began attacking and biting the honey badger, the animal bit them back. Shocked, the lion stood back in shock as a small animal like the honey badger rarely fights back. And finally, the last trick that probably saved the honey badger's life, was its ability to turn almost a full circle in his skin. So when the lioness attacked, the honey badger turned around and bit her on the nose. The lion immediately let go. After this successful attack, most smaller animals would try running away, but not the honey badger. It stood there and attempted a second bite. At that point, the lions figured the honey badger wasn't worth their time and they let it go. You heard that right. A honey badger fought 6 female lions and beat them. And now comes the crafty honey badger. Everyone meet Stoffel. He's a honey badger that won't be locked away. And it's not for a lack of trying to keep him locked away. It's that Stoffel devises a plan to get out every time he's put inside a new enclosure. It all started with the lion. Stoffel had a horrible experience with one of the lions at the zoo, so Brian built Stoffel his own enclosure. He even found him a mate. Stoffel and his female companion were locked behind a bolted door. The door had 2 bolts, but it was still easy for Stoffel to escape. He climbed up the gate, pulled the first bolt, and his partner pulled the lower bolt, and they both escaped. There's something oddly poetic about 2 honey badgers escaping, don't you think? But we digress. Brian had a real problem. He had to find a way to keep Stoffel in place, so he changed the locking mechanism, but Stoffel still escaped. How? By digging a tunnel underneath the fence and getting away. Finally, Brian built Stoffel a special enclosure that was intended to keep him inside for good. Before long, Stoffel was out yet again. How did he achieve this? Well, inside the enclosure there were trees. Stoffel climbed one of the trees, and once at the top, the branch would lean, allowing him to reach the wall and get out. They cut off all the branches, but Stoffel still found a way to escape. He piled up rocks next to a corner in the enclosure, climbed on top, and jumped over the wall. When they removed the rocks, he did this with balls of mud he built himself, or would use a rake or a chopped-off tree branch to scale the wall. No matter what they did, they were unable to keep Stoffel locked away. That's how intelligent honey badgers are. And then we have the honey badger's anti-venom. Instead of avoiding snakes altogether like other animals, the honey badger eats them so often they represent a quarter of their diet. We have to remember, snakes are a great source of protein. The only problem is their venom. Intrigued as to how a honey badger can withstand the bite of a king cobra, the most venomous snake on the planet, they realize that honey badgers evolved differently. They have a built-in molecular defense against different types of snake venom. This strange discovery explains why honey badgers are not afraid of snakes. Eventually, snakes are so afraid of honey badgers, a king cobra will climb to the top of a high tree to escape. But does that stop the honey badger? Hardly. They'll climb up and drag the snake down. On top of all this, the honey badger has a bite so strong it can crack the shell of a turtle with ease. Who in their right mind would not run away from the honey badger? YouTube thinks you should watch this video next.